Join OTP as we talk with outstanding vocalist Jay Nunn. He takes us on a journey from the Apollo Theater, popular music shows, and serving his country with the Navy Band Northwest. Next on OTP.
And thank you so much for coming on OTP. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Mark.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the business here. 12 years old. First of all, do you remember being 12?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember being 12.
Okay.
20, it was like 20 years ago, 21 years ago.
There you
Now,
go.
they
There you
won.
go. Yeah. All right. So talk to our audience because you have an extensive background. I want to take our time so the audience just can follow along. You're 12 years old. What in the world is happening?
Oh man. I guess honestly it started the love of music started way before 12.
Okay.
So my mom was a flute player and a singer, and she sang in a Bible study choir. So when I was born, I pretty much was like already like just around the choir and the gospel choir and the gospel band like all the time, like super young. So I think that's where it really started, in terms of like developing the ear and just the love for like listening to music and like the sound of different types of music. But 12 years old is where I started like taking it like seriously. Like I finally like, joined the teen choir and at Bible study, and started trying to, step out and, get over stage fright and try and like perform in a singer's capacity,
I want to touch on a couple of things there. First of all, let me go to the ear. I mean, without getting too technical,
Mhm.
there you go. You're trying to get that ear in tune, pardon the pun. Were you taking piano lessons or how was that happening?
I I started off actually playing violin when I was 8 years old.
Okay.
Um, I started playing violin, and then like less than a year after that, I started dancing. Um, so that's where, like, before I was talking, it was like listening to my mom in gospel choir, and then it was playing in orchestra. I played in orchestra from like 8 years old to like I was about like 19 or so.
Okay.
And I danced from about 9 years old till I was about maybe like 20, 21, somewhere up in there.
Yeah.
So that's where like that's where the fundamentals like started with like dancing was more so rhythm and hits, and
Right.
the violin was just like, orchestra and ensemble and blending and just, just trying to learn the instrument and seeing how it operates in that structure or whatever. But that's where
Right.
my ear like really started getting developed. Like I didn't necessarily start off like, oh man, I gotta sing like immediately. Like first, it was just something fun I love to do, like with my mom or at the
Right.
crib with my siblings or whatever. Like, like, so it wasn't
Yeah.
anything serious at first.
And it gave you those fundamentals at the beginning, foundation. What
Exactly.
what kind of I'm curious, you mentioned your mom. What's her name? What's mom's name?
Mom's name is Cynthia.
Cynthia. There you go. Shout out to Cynthia. I hope
Hi,
she
Bob. Hi,
yeah.
Bob.
Don't forget to subscribe, mom. So what kind of I want to get an idea of you and home. First, do you have siblings?
Yeah. I have a older brother. He's about 7 or 8 years older than me. Then I have an older sister who's about 4 or 5 years older than me, and then I have a younger brother. And we're like a year and a half apart. Um, busy home life. When we were younger, definitely a busy home life.
Do they play or sing or perform?
Um, my older brother actually can sing a little bit. He's autistic, so it took him a little while to like, like form
Right.
speech and stuff.
Yeah.
We were younger, but he was super musical, like even before he could like really like talk and like communicate like that. Like he already kind of like had that ear. So
Right.
My older brother, he sang in choir and stuff. My older sister is a phenomenal dancer. She still dances to this day, but
Right
she was
on.
like literally like the black ballerina. Like when we were younger, like she was just, she could get the leg all the way up behind her head. She could do like 50 Shanae turns. She could do point, jazz, hip hop, tap. She could do everything. She still dances now. We could never really get her on that microphone though. Me and my mom tried when I was younger, and it just wasn't taken. But she's dope. She's a super dope dancer. She's super dope at like art and graphic design. Like she can draw and do stuff like that and paint. She's like super dope at that. Um,
Right.
and my younger brother, he can sing a little bit. He also has the ear. But he's more of like, I guess you would say like the rapper of the family. But he tries to sing like every now and then. Like he has the ear and he can put melody together and he can songwrite a good little bit, but that voice is just not really like the most pleasant to listen to. But he's got something over there,
Yeah.
more than most, I would say.
If he watches this now, we're not shading him. It's
Nah,
all
nah,
good.
nah, he knows.
It's with
We,
love.
we, yeah, we always be beating each other up with jokes and stuff. So he knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah. There
It's
you
all
go.
love. It's all love.
So your mom and you are at home singing, and I got the feeling you're doing a lot of those fundamentals at church. Talk a little bit about that.
Um, Bible study choir. I definitely learned how to listen um intently very well before I started like singing. So like, when you're in rehearsal, you're trying to figure out, like they'll pass out like a lyric sheet and then the choir director will be like, all right, sopranos, you're gonna start up here, altos, you're gonna start here,
Yeah.
tenors you start here. So you kind of know, okay, if you're the male voice, so you're gonna be on the bottom most of the time, you know what I mean? So
Right.
she'd be like, all right, we'll sing all through it all together, and then we'll break it down. We'll have like just the soprano sing like half of the song, then the altos just sing half of the song, and then the tenor sing half of the song. So I'm already learning harmony like at a super
Right.
young age. Like I'm like, oh, this is easy. I can pick this out of the air like at any time because I've been around it for years as a child. You know what I mean? So um, I think that's what I owe most of my ear attributes to, I guess, or my ear growth or whatever, ear power, because I
Mhm.
just spent so much time listening before I actually tried to sing anything. Like I was just always listening to them. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah. It
but yeah,
gave you it gave you that foundation there at an early age.
a very strong foundation. Cause I know a lot of I met a lot of like solo singers who couldn't really hear harmony that well or couldn't harmonize with someone like in a like small group situation. And I used to be like, how could you not, how can you not hear it? And they're like, yeah, I didn't grow up singing like with a whole bunch of people or trying to layer harmonies in the studio or nothing like that. And to me, that's like just like completely foreign because I've always been around harmony in one way or another, whether it was in orchestra or if it was in, gospel choir.
Right, right. Now that brings me to a couple of things. You talked about you playing the violin. Any other instruments that you started developing in at that time?
A few years down the road, I'd say probably like into middle school, start of high school, I started teaching myself piano. And it was hilarious. I had my mom buy me this little like toy, like I think it was Kawasaki, like toy Kawasaki piano, like didn't barely have 2 octaves on it, and the keys were like literally like as small as your, like smaller than a pinky. Like so, I'm just trying to just play little chords on here, like following along with like John Legend and Music Soul Child songs, and I'm like, look, mom, I learned like I don't even know what chord this is, but it sounds like the one they're playing. You know what I mean? Yeah, like that.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's
yeah.
where the piano started. And then like I want to say like around like my early 20s, I started picking up on rhythm guitar, like just
Okay,
trying to learn chords and stuff. So because my goal was just to be able to accompany myself, like
right,
not really try and be like no really crazy piano or guitar player or nothing like that. I'm like, I'm gonna at least know how to play chords and maybe do a teeny tiny bit of soloing or noodling like in between or whatever, you know.
right.
So
Yeah. So now did that leads me to, did you at that point at that early age, did you have a feeling that you did want to sing and perform as a living? Or was it just you were just flying by the seat of your pants?
Nah, I knew pretty much the first time I like sang with a group of people. I knew that I wanted to be like a solo artist one
Mm.
day, or a songwriter, or some. I wanted to be some type of artist in that realm. Like I wanted to be like a Music Soul Child or a John Legend or Usher, or who, I wanted to be like those guys, like around like 12, 13 years old. So I started
Right.
doing whatever I could to like move in that direction,
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
at the time, you know.
There you go. So now that leads us. All I got to say is one word: Apollo.
Hollow.
take, take us to that experience,
I,
and you, wait a minute now. You were singing in some groups in high school, if I got that right.
yes, I was singing in. I was probably singing in like 3 choirs in high school, and then I was in a boy band too in high school as well. That kind of like it turned into like it was like a side group. We would do like little vignettes here at the chorus concerts and stuff. Like the choir director would let us do like our own thing or whatever. He's like, all right, I'm gonna let these
Oh,
kids do their own little thing because they're pretty cool. They're pretty dope. So,
yeah,
and
yeah.
eventually that turned into us like starting like a boy band type of thing, like
There you
outside
go.
of school. I gotta ask you a question though, because I meant to ask this before
Yeah.
we started. But what does OTP stand for?
On the podium. You are on the podium right
On the
now.
podium. Okay, okay.
You
On the
done
podium.
the podium. There you
Oh,
go.
I get okay, okay. But they're not following me because I can't conduct for real. Like, I give you one. That's about it. You get one.
You get the hey, Miles said just get on the one. That's all. So
Hey, I can
that's
get on
it.
the one.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep this in from the editing. So yeah, there
I
you
had to
go.
know though. I had to know. I was like, I can't be on the show and I don't even know what it. Um,
Yeah. So now you got the boy band, you've been in some choirs,
mhm.
and now you're coming out of high school. What happens?
Um, Let me go back to Apollo before I
Yeah.
forget, because that was
Yeah.
like the first. That was like the first like major thing that I did in my um career, like period. Like I literally was like not even 2 years in, and I'm like somehow my little black behind ended up on the famous Apollo stage, like
In now for the
in
listeners, let's set the place.
Harlem.
Go ahead. Where are we talking about?
In Harlem, in
Okay.
Harlem, like they're outside of the Apollo selling Newports and CDs and DVDs and the streets is mean and dirty, and they like, if you don't care how old you are, we don't care what race you are, we don't care what you identify as. If you
That's
boo
right.
boo, you boo boo, and we're gonna boo you. We're gonna boo you. So, and they put me in the adult round. They didn't even put me in the kids round. They put me in with the adults. Like they were like, your voice has already changed. You're a teenager, and you're not a little kid anymore. And our eyesight, you're gonna be going against the adults.
What
So
age? What age was that?
I was 14, 15, 14, 15, somewhere in there. Um,
But did you audition or somebody come knock on your door?
I auditioned. My mom and I drove from Virginia Beach up to Harlem. It was just me and her, and they were having like an open call. I think the way I found out about it though was I did this talent show in Virginia Beach called I can't remember what it's called right now, but I remember it was at like the Virginia House of Comedy or the Virginia Beach House of Comedy or something like that.
Okay.
We should have had my mom on here to fact check me. She remembers everything that like every single one of her kids do. I'm like, I don't know how you do this. Uh,
It comes with the territory of being a mom.
it's crazy. It's crazy. Like we were doing a lot of stuff like football, basketball, dance recitals,
Yeah.
concerts, everything, like doctor's appointments. Like I was like, how do you remember every single thing? Like the exact date and time, what you were wearing, like every she's wild. But she would remember it better than I could. But I did a local talent show in Virginia Beach, and I
Okay.
ended up making it to like the top 5 of that competition.
Okay.
And I think somebody who was like a judge on the competition, like, was like, they're having auditions for the Apollo, like in a month or two or something like that. So then we just, saved up some gas money and took a trip up to Harlem, and I auditioned for this lady, and it was in a small room, and there was like a few other people in there, and I want to say I sang John Legend for the audition because that's what I ended up singing for the show, the actual performance as well. Um, I was 14. I remember I sang So High by John
Okay.
Legend. I don't know if you ever
Okay.
heard that one before.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of people were like getting married to that song at the time.
Right.
They would have like their first dance, or
Yeah.
the brides would like walk down the aisle to the
Right.
song. So
Yeah.
at that age, I was singing for weddings as well. I was doing that song
There you
a lot
go.
for weddings, and um, I sang it, and she let me onto the show. So then we ended up coming back like a month or so later, and um, I remember it like it was yesterday because I was super nervous, and I wasn't digging my clothes. I was like, man, I don't know if this outfit is really going. At that time we were wearing like the baggy button ups with the big flowers on it. I had like a brown and blue flowers all over this huge button up. Like
Right.
I'm probably like 5'2", like 120 pounds, wearing like triple XL shirt and
Yeah.
jeans that are like dumb big, and I had on some white Nike, and I got up there. We got to rehearse before the show, and they played the song like the normal tempo, and everything was cool. The rehearsal was super easy. It was Ray True and the crew. Um,
Yeah.
I got to talk to them for like 2 minutes and run the song, and then they practiced with everybody else. But Mark, when I got out on that stage and I came out and I got to rub the log, and talk to the host beforehand, I was super nervous, and I was like, all right, they start the song. And for some reason, they're playing the song like 50 clicks faster than than what we rehearsed. I'm like, this is supposed to be like a ballad. Like I'm trying to sing to the ladies right now. Supposed to,
Right.
you know, baby, since the day you came into my life, and they hit me with the baby, since the day you came into my life, and I'm like, oh my god, man.
You're
Yeah, yeah. Like, so I turned it into like a dancey kind of song. Like I'm moving around. I hit the splits and I got up and span a couple of times, like at one point in the song. Cause I'm like, I don't have enough. At that point, I didn't have enough experience to like command the band and like know how
right.
to tell them to slow down, and I'm so nervous. So I'm like, I'm just gonna have to rock with
There
whatever's
you
whatever's happening right now. So
go.
that was
Okay.
that was super scary, but I ended up getting through it, and I won that night, and I
Wow.
got a check and everything. My first paid check was from Apollo Theater as a
Hi.
performer.
Hey, now what a story. What a story. You
Crazy,
know, you know how that all happened was because you rubbed that log.
right, right, right. Both hands, multiple times, as many times as I could before before starting.
Now, just to be clear, that for those that are watching and listening, if you have not seen the Apollo Theater, go ahead and YouTube it, and you'll know what we're talking about.
It's showtime
At the Apollo.
at the Apollo.
That's right. I think it still comes on at night or something. I can't remember, but
Like they play like reruns or something.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There you go.
We used to love watching that show, man. That was one of my favorite shows as a child, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the history, coming through of everybody that's come through there, amazing. So now you're going uh to out of the Apollo,
Hmm.
and 14, I would imagine you feel like you're on cloud nine,
Oh
you
yeah,
know.
oh yeah.
Now you're still in high school.
Still in high school, like a freshman, sophomore.
Okay, now what you go back to high school. You know what I'm gonna say. Your friends and everything in high school. What are they saying? Oh man, we can't talk to him anymore.
Oh man. Nah, they weren't shocked. They weren't super shocked though, because I went to a performing arts high school, so we had to audition to get into that school anyway. So everybody who was there, well,
Okay.
most people that was there, it was like half of the school was performing arts and half of it was like just regular students. They weren't really trying to do anything in the performing arts, visual and performing arts area. So
And what's the name of the school and where was this at again?
this is the Visual and Performing Arts Academy of Salem High School in Virginia Beach.
Okay, Virginia Beach. There we go.
757.
Yeah.
So they weren't super shocked. They're like, why'd you even come back? Like, you should have just stayed in New York. And I'm like, man, I wish.
Yeah.
That was all of that time was like such a crazy time, because literally like right before we went to New York went to Harlem, the talent show that I did, I ended up getting offered they offered me Universal Motown at the time offered me a development artist deal,
Oh, wow.
like a 2-year deal. Um and that was like my first major offer, but we ended up not taking it because they wanted me to move to New York, and my mom, um even though they were going to have like tutors and still make sure I get like a schooling and an education and all that stuff, my mom just did not want to
Uh,
go to New York, and she didn't want me out there, and she just didn't want to take that route. So
right.
all of that was just a crazy time, and it was like, man, we still ended up going to New York like around that same time to do something. And even in my American Idol journey, I still ended up in New York. So it's just been like a few times where I kept ending up in New York, and it's like, man, maybe we should have took that
Right.
development deal, like. But she was like, no, I want you to finish having a normal childhood and da 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 da. And I'm like, man, like looking back, I'm like, I don't know if we, I don't
Yeah.
know. Like you never know. You just never know what it could have turned into. But
Right.
we literally sat down with an entertainment lawyer
Okay.
at the time, and the A&R from Universal Motown, me, my mom, and those two people. And they're like,
Right.
yeah, we want to give you this development deal. We'll develop your brand and your artistry
Right.
and your skills for 2 years. And if everything's on the up and up, you would be you would be the artist that we're trying to
Right.
promote.
Right.
So
But
um
woulda, coulda, shoulda,
yeah, yeah, that's
and
just another piece of the
yeah,
story, you know,
yeah,
and again, super, super young. Like that was in like my first 2 years of like stepping out and like, just trying
right,
to be an
right.
artist.
And moms gotta do what moms gotta do and watch out for their babies.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there, not that this company would be, but you gotta take it with a grain of salt,
Right.
but you did end up moving in '08. Is that correct?
In
And
'08, I went to college. So I moved, but I didn't really move. I went
okay,
to Richmond, Virginia, and I was
oh,
going to VCU out there, Virginia Commonwealth University.
okay, yeah, studying what?
Music,
Music,
vocal performance, music performance. So I was learning like the classical style of
right,
singing, and um a crazy amount of music theory, and
right,
just everything in that realm, like as much as I could learn in that 2 years that I was there.
yeah. Now were you writing your material at that point?
I started writing around like 16,
Okay,
16, 17. And so those songs were like, if they weren't boo boo, they ended up being like just super, 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 super simple.
right,
Like I was like, I couldn't probably write a verse to save my life, but I could like always write like a catchy little hook, like
yeah,
super simple hook,
right.
like, but the verses just never really. I was like, what am I even saying? Right. Like I have some of the old recordings, and I'm like, this is horrible.
Well, that's all right. That's what it's supposed to be like, starting out.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah. So you started writing, and then I've got you at performing Grammy Award winning producer, working with that. Tell us about that experience.
Oh man, Timbaland came
Timberland.
to Timbaland, another producer from the 757, producer, artist, super producer, I guess you got to call him now,
Right.
not just
Yeah.
a regular producer. You got to put super in front of it.
Yeah.
So this guy um came back to Salem High School to like donate a bunch of like I think it was Hewlett Packard computers. I think that's what it
Oh,
was
okay.
at the time. But not only did he do that, he actually came in and he worked with the choir, um, like our school's top choir at the time. But it was crazy, like the whole setup for that, because um my choir director, he had he had pretty much assigned me and three other students to like put together this little short performance for like a school assembly. And it was super random and sus how he like had us like do it. Like he called us into his office and he was like, hey, do you guys know who this Timbaland guy is? And he's probably like, I don't remember how old Dr. K was at the time. He's got to be like in his like late 40s or early 50s maybe.
Yeah.
And he's just a cool, chill white
Right.
dude. He loves Billy Joel and like all of this type of stuff. And he's got his doctorate in choral music and all this stuff. So he's
Right.
he's hip, but he's not like super hip to who Timbaland
Yeah.
and who these other people are. And I'm like,
That genre.
yeah. So he gets to talking, and I'm like 16 or I'm maybe 17 at this time. And after that little meeting, I grabbed my choir members who he had in the meeting. And I was like, yo, Timberland's coming to this school. And they started laughing at me. They were like, Timberland would never come here. Like, why would he come here? And I'm like, yo, listen to the messenger who just you heard what he just said to us. Like, we've been working with this man for 3 years, almost 4 years. Like, why in the hell would he have us do a Timberland song? So,
That's funny.
and they didn't believe me. They still didn't believe me. So I was like, all right, this performance about to be dopest. This is about to be one of the dopest things we ever did. So I had us doing choreo. I had us wearing like outfits. We ended up doing My Love by Justin Timberlake.
Oh,
And another woman that can take a spot. We did that song. So
okay.
I had us doing choreo, and I had my homeboy do the rap part, guys rap part. And so we get to the assembly day, and we're ready to kill it. We get on stage, we start singing the song, and then like almost halfway through the song, Timbaland walks out on stage at my high school while we're performing the song.
Oh no.
Mark, the freaking freaking auditorium exploded. Like it sounded like fireworks were going off inside. Like I've never heard my school get that loud ever in my entire freaking life. Like everyone lost their minds. They like, oh my God, it's Timbaland. So, and I knew it. So I'm yelling at my friends on stage. I'm like, I told you he was coming. I told you, but you didn't believe me. So I walk up to Timbaland and I dap him up.
Oh my
I
goodness.
dap him up, and he's like, people are still screaming, and he's like, man, y'all are up here killing it. And everybody's just like, I can't believe Timbaland is literally standing right next to us right now.
Wow.
Like, so it was crazy. Like after that, he's like told the whole school that he's donating computers, and
Wow.
then he came and he did like a little master class like with our choir. And
Wow.
then after the master class, he pulled me aside, and this man walked me around the whole entire campus, the whole campus. Like we were just walking around, and he had like cameras and stuff following him. And
Oh man.
he's telling me, he's like, man, he was like, yo, like, not to single you out, but you killed that, man. Like
There you go.
JT would have been like, dang, you out here doing it like that, 17. Like,
Right.
so after that, we go back to they made the band room, which was right next to the choir room. They made the band room like his green room.
Okay.
So we went over there, and they had like a bunch of food, and he had like free clothes and CDs and stuff everywhere. So I got to eat some of the food. He gave me like a t-shirt and
You were waiting for a car.
pretty much. And then at the time, I had this like super boo-boo demo on me. Like I probably had been in the studio for less than a year at that point in my career, but I had a little demo on me because I knew he was coming. I already knew he was coming, so I was prepared. So I slid him up my demo that had like maybe 2 or 3 songs on it, and I know they were garbage. I know they were hot garbage. I know they sound like hot garbage. You know what I mean? But he's seen me live, so he knows what the potential could be from here. You know, so he gave me his email address at the time and his number at the time. So I called him and I emailed. Unfortunately, never got a call back, and I was super salty about that for years. Like I called that number and that email, like not crazy, but I'll probably hit it up like maybe twice a month or something like that. Like I know at that time he was touring and busy, and he had stuff like Promiscuous Girl out at the time, and doing stuff with what was that? Is it Nelly Furtado, or I think that's the name. I can't remember everybody's name.
Life got in the way.
Yeah, that's what I assumed. But I was always salty about that. And I was like, man, if I could have just like, we didn't even have to do no project or nothing to get together. I would have just been fine with like, you know, going to the studio and being like a fly on the wall. Like I'm just in the back, like just, you know, seeing how they do the things, you know. So
mentoring kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. But I'm like,
But on that note though, well, you know, you mentioned your mom talking about having a typical youth and young person kind of life. You didn't have that in the first place. I mean, nobody, you know, that I know, you know, you end up on the Apollo and the experiences that you have. So you were already out the box at that time.
That's true.
And so now at this point here, you're thinking, okay, I've got this connection and it's starting to run dry a little bit. But you did get a chance to do the national anthem. And in that experience, talk about that a little bit.
The national anthem for
well, you talked about that you had you performed or had many of us performed at the national anthem and let's see, I'm just reading my notes here. It was with Timbaland. After the experience with Timbaland, what came up after that?
After Timbaland, I couldn't get in contact with him or his people or his team.
Right.
And I'd say the next kind of big move that happened after that, I got started finally getting paid like consistently, a little consistently as a performer. I guess that's when the boy band really started kicking in, and
Fourscore.
For sure.
For sure.
Name better though, Fourscore.
I'll have to keep that one in on the editing
too. Yeah, we ended up getting this our principal at the time. I don't remember if she was dating this guy or if she was married to him, but he owned this business that like hired performers to perform on the ocean front, like on the streets on the ocean front, like the sidewalk. And the ocean, you know where the ocean front is out in Virginia Beach?
Yeah.
So they called it Beach Street USA, and they would like just set up little boxes that would have like a sign on it that says Beach Street USA or whatever, and we would get on top of those boxes and like bring our little sound system, and we would just have 4 microphones, and we'd be out there like just singing pop music, R&B, a little country, a little soft rock, you know, just having a good time, so people have something to, you know, a little ear candy while they're walking down and seeing what they want to buy and whatever. But a lot of times people would like, you know, they would stop for us, and like we kind of be crowding up the street a little bit, so security would have to be like, all right, y'all gotta kind of keep it moving a little bit.
Buy something.
Yeah. Buy something. Listen to a song or two, and then keep it moving. But you know, we were super young. We were like 17, 18, 19, and we were just out there just trying to, you know, hustle and get a little check for, you know, something we love to do, you know.
Yeah.
And that turned into eventually us like doing YouTube, and eventually us doing X Factor, and that's where we met Paula Abdul and Pharrell Williams, and
Right.
we thought since we had somebody again from the 757 area on
Right.
on our side that we were going to be like not shoe-ins, but at least we were going to get like further into
Right.
the competition. But we got cut short right before the live rounds. We were like, dang, 757 got
So
us in, man.
I saw your clip. Talk about that. You're on the X Factor, and then you make it on to, of course, American Idol.
Hmm.
And talk about that experience there, because now you're thinking things are starting to move a little bit, but you
Yeah,
might be
like now we're talking about like international recognition and
right.
stuff like that. So especially for X Factor, because I think it hadn't been in the US for that long. This had to be like maybe like 2010 or
Okay.
so. I want to say,
Right.
like, I don't even think I have been legal to drink alcohol just yet, or it was like just running up on that time. So the group had actually we moved out to Atlanta to pursue this production deal with some of Brian Michael Cox's people. Um and then after a few months it kind of like fizzled out. So we were like, all right, cool. One of the members went back to school. A couple of the guys stayed in Atlanta, Decatur. I ended up getting a no, X Factor happened before the ATL stuff. So we dispersed after some college show we did. I want to say like 2009 or so. Um, and then something happened. I think one of the members got an email from X Factor saying, "Yo, if y'all want to come out to Seattle, Washington, we will make sure that y'all get directly in front of the judges, like ASAP. You don't have to go stand in no lines
Wow.
or do any of the preliminary rounds. You will get to stand right in front of Paul Abdul, L.A. Reid, Simon Cowell, and Nicole Scherzinger." And we were like, hell yeah, we'll get out to Seattle too.
Right. Yeah. Don't have to tell us twice.
Yeah, you don't have to tell us twice at all. Man,
Yeah.
I was broke as hell at the time. So I was like, man, now I said hell yes. Now how am I gonna get this money to get a flight from I was living in Florida at the time. I was living in Orlando. I was going to Full Sail
Right.
University. I was like, how am I gonna find X amount of dollars to get to
Right.
Seattle? And I don't exactly remember how we came up with the money, but we did come up with the money. We got a cheap little hotel. We synchronized, got our outfits all together, made sure we were, at that point we hadn't performed together in a good minute. Like we were
Wow.
pretty much disbanded at that time.
Was that because of after school and just going in different directions, or
I think some of it was because of we've gone to different colleges and different states
yeah,
and cities, and some of it was just
what happened?
creative differences or whatever. I can't remember exactly
Sure.
everything that was
Sure.
going on at that time, but
Yeah.
there definitely was some other stuff going on too, like a little bit of drama, but
Yeah.
it wasn't nothing like
Yeah.
earth shattering. It's just
Right.
you're young and you're trying to
Yeah.
figure out life and your business and all of this stuff.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And obviously, if it was that bad, we wouldn't have
Wouldn't
came back together at all to do anything. It'd be like, nah, I don't want to talk to that mother.
Yeah.
He said my mama was.
But you said X Factor. I'm in. Yeah.
Yeah, so we made it work, and we got out there. We got out. That was my first time being in Seattle, and
Right.
we got out there. We got on stage, and they let us sing 2 songs. It was like a huge crowd, huge crowd. And then the 4 judges, and we sang "Firework" by Katy Perry,
Okay.
and then we sang "End of the Road" by Boys to Men, and
Yeah.
we bodied both of those songs, and the crowd was
Right.
like losing their minds. They were like, these dudes are handsome, clean cut, got
Yeah.
the
There you go.
harmonies, like a little stage blocking. They know how to work the stage. They're super comfortable together, and
Right.
and Simon Cowell gave us the cosign. Like, and Simon Cowell's like the hardest person to please, like the hardest person to please. Like if he's not messing with you, he's gonna be like, hey,
Yeah.
that was garbage. Like
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
you shouldn't be on this show.
Right in front of the whole world.
In front of the whole entire world.
Yeah.
He said something like if he was like America and the world would be like super proud to have you as their
Right.
representation in like music or R&B music or something. Like he said something like that.
Yeah.
So we were like, that was like our first time performing. We were, for them, we were like, yeah, we might. I was like, we might win this show. Like we might
Yeah.
be top 3 just off of what he said. Like that's how we felt.
Sure.
But
Sure.
you know, it didn't end up happening
Right.
that way, you know.
Yeah.
But
So, but the music, you're trying to keep that music in your heart, your being, but also it's a business for you.
mhm, mhm.
And so after that, talk about your feeling. Did you feel like, now maybe I'll pursue, this typical job, or does the music keep you going?
The music absolutely keeps me going. Like I feel like I feel like I probably wouldn't even be alive if I wasn't doing
Oh,
music honestly.
I
Like
feel you.
cuz it's been one of the few things in my entire life that's like always been there. Like
Right.
always 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 no matter what's going on. Like I've been homeless multiple times. I'm still able to listen to
Yeah.
music and able to even create music
Right.
while homeless. You know what I mean? So it's like it's
Right.
that thing that's like never ever ever you can never take
Yeah.
this one thing away from me. Only I can take it away from myself. And even still, I probably still couldn't take it away from from myself. Like I'm going to hear something. You can't stop yourself from hearing unless your hearing
Right.
just goes away. You
But
know.
do you, on that note, you do, I don't know, there have been times in my life, and I'm with you on the music and being alive, because it definitely has played that role in my life. But there have been times in my life where I wanted to throw the music away, stop playing. I was mad at it, like, Jesus, like the Lord, and say, no, I don't want to do it.
Hmm.
But it keeps coming back to you.
Hmm.
Yeah. And,
Absolutely.
and your creativity, you start writing music, and tell us where you go from there. And you left X Factor. You might be a little disappointed. What
Yeah, we
brings
were
you back in?
disappointed. We were super disappointed when we left X Factor. We were super disappointed because we
Mhm.
were like, dang, we're finally gonna be able to be with a team that can like at that time they had like people who like dress you and stuff and help you, give you like a makeover and all that stuff. I'm like, finally, we're not gonna look like broke boys no
Yeah.
more. They're gonna put us with the chains on. They're gonna hook the hair up. We're gonna have the fancy earrings
Yeah.
and the nice button ups and fitted stuff and
Yeah.
we're in shape. I'm like, boys, we about to be looking phenomenal. We about to look like $1,000,000, literally,
Right.
like
Right.
look and sound like $1,000,000. So we were really looking forward to like seeing ourselves in that
Right.
light, instead of
Sure.
broke budget boys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we were like I said, we were disbanded for a while. So after X Factor, we had a meeting and we were like, yo, y'all want to keep trying the group thing, or everybody just go back to their corners of the earth and whatever, finish
Yeah.
school, do whatever. And we were all like, you know what? We got way too close to like just give up on it. So that's when we ended up, we all went back to our places and made arrangements for us to move to Decatur or Atlanta and figure out how to make this production deal work with some of Brian Michael Cox's
Oh, I see.
people. And Brian Michael Cox is like a huge R&B producer. Like he's done stuff for everybody, Marcus Houston and
Mm.
all these big name, pretty much any big R&B song in the like late 90s, early 2000s, and
Right.
even some kind of current. Brian Michael Cox has been
Had
has
his
played
hand.
a part in it. So we were
Right.
like, we're gonna work with some of his people, and if they're messing with some of the product we come up with, then we might get to work with him. So we were just trying to hustle
Right.
that
That angle on it.
that angle, yeah. And
Right.
after like a good few months, it just turned into like not being a fruitful thing. So we were like, you know what? Let's just count our losses. We came out here, we grinded, we were still doing shows while we were out there. We were hitting the gym, we were hitting the studio, like we were
Yeah.
being productive. It just didn't turn into like
Yeah.
a tangible thing. So after that, that's when I auditioned for Disney's Lion King, and I auditioned while I was in Atlanta, and then that's when I moved to Orlando, and that's when that part of my
Okay.
growth
Yeah.
and career started. That's where most of my adult career was
With
at
the, yeah,
Orlando.
that catapulted you into creativity and your next step.
Hmm.
Yeah. Tell us about that. Where did you go?
So as soon as I got the job, I moved from Decatur to Leesburg, Florida, where my mom was staying at the time. My mom's from Leesburg, Florida, so she always wanted us to like kind of stay where she lived at, just to see what it was like, or like where she grew up at. So I stayed there for a few months while I was in rehearsals for Lion King, and then after that, I got my own apartment out in Orlando, and then I just started figuring out how Orlando works and how to, book my own gigs and be my own advocate, and
Right.
started recording solo projects and working with other producers and small production teams that are all
Yeah.
about producing and mixing and engineering and just trying to find my
Right.
own sound and my own voice. you
Putting
know
your business together.
hmm
Yeah.
I was in super hustle mode, like 2013 to like 2015. Well, honestly, all of my time there was nonstop, but that first 2 or 3 years was like crazy nonstop. And then that's when American Idol came into the picture, like 2015,
Okay.
2016.
Yeah. 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 Now talk about that experience. And that's, you know, with the, I want to touch before you get into the American Idol, you're on a delicate line because you've got that music in your soul, you're creating, but you're turning that into a business. And did you have to fight between this is something so intimate for you, but then you want it to be lucrative? Did that come into play at all, or you just focused on that ching ching?
Uh, I guess that there's like a couple of ways I look at that, because where I was at in Orlando, it was like so easy to like get locked into money making opportunities, and they
Okay.
weren't like huge money making
Sure.
opportunities. It was just like, okay, you can, if you all did go out to a bunch of auditions, you can have a role here at this part, you can have a role here at this part, you can have a role in this
Right.
corporate band, you can have a role in this a cappella group, you can have a role in this sound team, you can have a role in this photo team, you can have so many different, you can wear so many different hats and have so many different sources of income, you
Right.
know so
Yeah.
it wasn't it, in terms of that, I wasn't really looking at it too much. I was looking at using those things to fund my
Okay.
my solo music endeavors.
A stepping stone in learning.
But I
Okay.
guess what you're saying with the soul, with trying to figure out how to make money with like original music is kind of where I kind of have a little push and pull, because you're trying to, generally what I like, the music that I would naturally like to make
Right.
from my heart isn't necessarily the hottest selling sound, you know what I mean? So I have to find a way. I'd constantly struggle to find a way to make like kind of like what's popular at the time, like what we would hear in the club while we
Right.
were dancing or doing whatever, like, you know,
Right.
getting drunk too or smoking or whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
Like I'd have to find elements of that stuff and put it into what I naturally do on
Right.
my own when I'm producing and songwriting and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, so what can I do? I would start with my way first, and then I'd be like, oh, go back to it and be like, what can I do to add elements of whatever is hot in R&B at the time? You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Right.
or
Yeah.
R&B and hip hop at the time, you
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
that first album I did in Florida, the I Want More album, that probably was like the closest I felt like I ever got to like being
Mhm.
something that was like me and something that was like commercial, like at the same time.
Right.
Like it sounds like this, but like it hits a little different because of the way I approached it from like a early 2000s like kind
Right.
of
Yeah.
R&B style, because that's just where my heart is
Right.
always at, you know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah. You want to keep that part of you
mhm,
in that music, but also you want to make it appealing to the people that are going to buy it.
right.
Yeah.
Right. So if it's gonna be a dance thing, you gotta have certain elements in the production that makes it fit in with the hotter dance songs at the time. If it's going to be a hip hop
Right.
thing, you got to have certain elements that's going to have
Sure.
stuff that make people, you know, that
Right.
catches people's ears
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
time. And we had a blast putting that I Want More album together. Like all that stuff I mostly wrote on my own. I have my homie P Butter and the producer JR at the time, like come in and like they'd be like, all right, well, this part is cool, but like try saying this or try doing that, and did it like just making little tweaks, and they'd lead me down a different hallway, and I'd be like, you know what, I don't know if I want to go down there, but I'm gonna do it anyways. Let's try
Yeah.
and write this, you know, put this together, you
Right.
know. And it's
Right.
just being creative, man. Like
Creative.
that was some of the most fun times I ever had,
Yeah.
like creating music.
Right.
Oh,
Right. Right. Right on. Stage presence on stage and your
mhm.
performance. In a little while, we're gonna play one of your originals, ironically for your wife, if I got that right.
Yes,
You,
indeed.
yeah. And you just okay. You didn't just get recently married, but explain that a little bit. You've been married, but you did a redo.
We got married um a few months after I got out of boot camp,
Mhm.
and then literally like within the next month we had started planning like the actual wedding, because I know both of our moms would have killed us if we didn't have like an actual like actual like
Right.
wedding celebration. So we finally had the actual full family and friends big wedding celebration.
There you go.
What was that, like a month ago now? What's today's date? Today's
March
20.
25.
It's almost a month ago,
Yeah.
almost a
Yeah.
whole month ago.
There you go.
And
Uh,
it was beautiful, man. It was beautiful.
Before we get into the track, you find yourself boot camp and going into the uh, the Navy. How did you shake hands with that?
Oh man, shake hands. How did I salute to that? Oh man. So you know, as you know, a lot of people went through and, you know, still are going through hard
Right.
times due to COVID.
Yeah.
Um and for me, that was just like
Yeah.
that was almost like a completely clean slate. Like
Right.
if I hadn't been like doing recording work from home and having clients, and
Right.
started picking up doing vocal coaching on the side and stuff like that, I would have been like
Yeah.
completely, probably would have been sleeping in my car.
Yeah.
No, Mark and Kimmy
Right.
wouldn't have had me sleeping in the car.
Right.
But
Yeah.
um damn near close, you know. So it's
Right.
like I had to almost start all the way over again.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
still had voice play at the time. We were still doing videos and stuff, but it wasn't the same as, you know,
Right.
gigging and going out and making
A,
the bigger dollars, you know.
a lot of musicians had it rough at that time.
Super rough, super rough.
Yeah.
So I was forced to like just sit down and evaluate. And I'm like, I know I'm gonna have to make a super hard decision. And I was like, my mom was like, you know, you probably could do the Navy if you know, if you look
Right.
into it. They have them, they hire musicians. And
Sure.
I'm like, man, I don't know if I really want to go that route. But it's like the more I looked into it, it just seemed like
Right.
it was going to make more sense in the long run. I'm getting to that age where, you know, I want to have kids and a family, and I want
Right.
to have a sustainable career. And it's like, it's
Right.
not going to look how I thought it was going to look 20 years ago, you know, like having a
Mhm.
record deal, or, you
Yeah.
know, like that was like the
Yeah.
pinnacle back then. It was like, bro, you got to get a record deal, bro. You got to get a record deal,
Right.
a record deal, you know, or you got to get YouTube famous, or you got to get YouTube famous. You got, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like one
Right.
of those two things, you know. So it's like it just made more sense to join up and serve, because I knew
Right.
it was gonna lead me to a place I've never been before, and give me more, you know, more stability in a quicker time frame than doing the other things that I was doing was going.
Right.
And that's, you know, no disrespect to anybody
Yeah.
that I was working with or anything at the time. You know, it's just
Right.
we all got different goals, and we live different lives, and we, you know, perceive things different, you know.
But
So
what I like about what you're saying is that the common thread was your music, your creativity. And even though these things came in your way, you are finding and still are finding a way, correct me if I'm wrong, to keep that musical thread in your life. You're getting, you're getting married, you're moving, you're serving your country, and you're able to still use your talent in that direction. It's not, in other words, it's not like you said, okay, well, I'm going to just go and be a dentist, you know. you know, that's it. No offense to dentists out there,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
but but you are keeping that thread going on, and so it's in your core, it's in your DNA,
absolutely.
and I commend you for that, and thank you for your service for that, you and your wife. Let me play this clip for you. You take us through your process of writing this, and the people listening and watching will get an idea of how you're putting your music together. Talk about that.
Well, for this song, it was like, I don't want to say it was like super easy, but it literally just starting from like the beginning of the relationship, right? You know,
Mhm.
verse one, it's like, how did we meet? You know, I saw a picture of her on a dating site, and I was like, I seen her, she had like the little purple dress on with the thigh out, and I was just like, I was like, oh my God. That's like step one. But like, okay, we'll just start there with it,
Right,
you know. But like
right.
when I heard when I first heard this beat, this instrumental online, I was like, oh man, this gotta be, I was like, when you hear something, you know when it's gotta be like deep, or if it's gotta be like super funky, or it's gotta hit hard or something. That one, I was like, oh, this is
This is the
obviously a love song. Like
right,
it's got a little waltz to it. It's got, I call it a little R&B waltz
right. Yeah,
feel to it. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have to write
yeah.
something to it. And then I was like, dang, the song's like almost 7 minutes. I was like, I've never written a song this long before. And then there's a key change in it. I'm like,
There is.
dude, I was like, they don't do key changes in R&B music anymore. Like, like,
Well, Earth, Wind, and Fire does about four different key
no,
changes.
I know. Literally just talking about that yesterday too.
Yeah,
I was trying to hit them Philip Bailey notes and everything.
yeah, yeah. Well, this right, I've got this clipped, trimmed right before the key change. So let's take a listen to it.
All my love's for you, only you. With these notes I sing and this wedding ring, you are my everything. Yes, you are. I can't believe we found each other. I don't know what to say. I can't believe that we're together, and how you make me feel this way. Oh, I know that there's a God above, because I don't deserve this. Hey, yeah. I praise Yahweh for bringing us together, because I believe in love. You and me, you are,
Now, first of all, what was your wife's her emotional or face when she was hearing that?
She was crying like a big baby. And I was like, yeah. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, man. When you can express yourself like that,
That's
and you
right.
are able to get the point across like
Right.
effectively, and then you see the person that you wrote that that song for, that you literally poured your heart out for, like
Right.
received it like fully like that. Like, and she's
Right.
not really a crier like that. So when I got her, I was like, yeah, you know, I'm never letting you live that down like
That's right.
forever.
That's right. There you go. Got to get that on YouTube video.
Absolutely. That's what I should have did. I should have had her listen to it for the first time and recorded her.
Yeah, that's
Would have been
great.
good.
That's great, man. Well, I'll tell you what, the journey that you've given us today is not over, and we're looking forward to seeing. So now you're all transparency. You're up in Washington, playing in the same band with my son.
Mhm.
Tell us about what's going on.
Navy Band Northwest. I'm out here in Silverdale, where we get, you know, we get like 5 days of sun out of 360. You know, and we're in I'm in the popular music group mostly. So in that group, you know, we play all the top 40 stuff, all the dance stuff, the classic rock, the some a little bit of funk, a little bit of R&B, a little bit of hip hop, do a little bit of rock, just a little bit of everything. But it's like the hits, the hits. So everybody knows we want to keep the dance floor packed type of situation. So that's where me and Jared come in.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Well, look, man, I want to thank you so much for doing this. It's been a great ride to hear, and I'm looking forward to seeing the future of you and your family and moving forward. And God bless you.
Absolutely. God bless you too, Mark.
Before I let you go, talk to the audience. We have a wide span of people, from some of my former students, Tina and Carlos, to old folks like me. Why continue to play music? Why keeping it in your body and soul?
Oh man, I think the why is obviously the why is different for everybody, but for me, it's just to stay motivated and inspired, man. Like nothing makes me feel like how music makes me feel. Like it's literally like a life source at this point. So I could just never see myself putting it down and like just completely giving it up. It's like you got to keep it going, because you never know what your song or your verse or whatever you're playing could be like inspiring somebody to, like, you know, literally keep going.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and if it's keeping you going, why stop doing it? Keeping you going, no matter what the pitfalls are or what the results are, if they're not looking like how you want them to look or whatever. It's like at the end of the day, you always have that music to lay in and be safe in.
There you go. I love that. Be safe in, because we're going through things now, and music just got to keep us, our soul happy. You know, even when it's, you know, outside forces are going crazy. Well, God bless, and say hello to your wonderful wife for us.
Absolutely.
I want to thank our listeners for taking a ride with us on this journey. There you go. Don't forget, let's do the business. You can find this podcast on Spotify, iTunes, on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, let's try to play all the right notes.
You've been listening to The Podium. If you would like to be a guest on The Podium, email the show at onthe-podium2@gmail.com. That's ONTHEPODIUM TOO @gmail.com.